I guess they will.
That's normal.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I just wish they would start getting food.
You didn't tell me that.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know that now.
That's
He just left.
that's the part.
Okay. All right.
They should have been with you.
Calling me. Aren't you glad I'm back? Russ, are you glad I'm back? Okay, so I'm calling to order the meeting of the Planning Commission on September. We are all here and Donna is participating by Zoom. We have our consent agenda, which is the minutes from August 11th, the financial report from August 30th. Do we have any correspondence, Angelina? No, and no correspondence. Do I have a motion to accept? Terry has moved to accept. The dark glasses threw me there. Yeah. So Terry's moved to Terry has moved to accept the minutes. And who seconded?
I'll second that.
You second, Russ.
Yeah, Terry seconded.
I'm sorry. Okay, we're done. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. I forgot to report that also Carol and Angelina are here for the staff. Okay, staff reports. Do you have anything to report, Carol?
I'll wait till the elk.
You will wait to the elk.
I don't hear all the daily stuff around here, so I don't know if there's anything I'm missing. But if you have any questions.
It's not time to go, so okay.
No, I mean, any land use questions on anything? Like if you were to.
Okay, Terry says no. Commissioners, do you have any concerns or anything like to know at this time? Is Terry?
My only concern is that I only got one page of the budget.
That's all you get.
Why do we only get one page?
Because that's all you get. We're only concerned about the planning commission expenses. We're not concerned about
got it.
I'm not going to tell other people. We're not going to tell other people like the fire department or police what they can spend. So we're only concerned about the planning commission expenses. Okay. Any other concerns?
John?
No other concerns. Okay. All right. So goals list. How do we want to do this, Carol? You've got goals list, elk management plan, strategy discussion.
Okay, let me
Is
get
that what you want to do? Okay.
That's it. So you all received this.
Yeah.
And unless we're going to explain it, you all understand what this collaborative effort was all about with Warrenton, Deerheart, Cusp County, and was there another?
Well, Seaside was in.
Seaside. So those 4 jurisdictions came together and the governor's agreement to designated a Oregon Solutions Project, which is a great program to help communities address bigger problems than within their own boundaries and to try and find, quote, sustainable solutions to those problems. And so that's what happened. The city council signed a declaration of cooperation between those jurisdictions February 2021. And in that declaration, if you turn to page 14, you'll see where Deerheart declaration includes these items that the city will take reasonable steps to prevent negative interactions and protect people on property. Now, therefore, we agree to do these things on page 14, or attempt to do them, or something, whatever method we need. So we can go through those, and Chad instructed me to tell you to choose one.
What do you mean?
Choose one of these items that you think would be the way to start this program to help to mitigate the elk problem in Deerheart. And some are easier than others here. Some are more land use enforcement and some are broader. So if you like, we could just like go right into that.
What are you asking us to do?
To look at these 14 City of Gerhart
Right.
solutions. And 1 to 9. And maybe we just run through them real quick. And then have a discussion about which ones you think as a group are the most important for us to undertake first.
For us to undertake, so us, the planning commission, or us, Gerhart? Because some of these things seem more relevant to us than others.
Right, so I think as you go through, you'll say, well, this is probably council, and this one is maybe Fish and Wildlife culling the elk. You know, we're not gonna go out there and field trip and cull the elk together.
Well, somebody here might want to.
Yeah, I know, it'd be interesting. So the fence code, revise the fence code.
Right.
To deter elk from entering property, which would be changing the current regulations. And they should have to go higher, right?
Yeah.
6 feet.
Yeah.
Right now, fence is.
How many were here for the last time we had fence discussion? Were you yet on by commission?
Yeah, well, we had a property where we had to.
Right, but you weren't here when we tried to get the ordinance through.
Yeah.
No.
No, that was a long time ago, maybe 8 years ago.
No, I was here. I was here 6 years.
I was here.
6 years.
Well, anyway, I probably.
It's like, yeah, since I lived in here, but it is understanding. No.
Yeah, I hate to sound dense, but I still don't understand exactly what you're asking.
Okay, well, let's.
Prioritize these.
Do we need to go through all these?
Yeah, this is a discussion tonight about just to both introduce you to what this is and to try and initiate something that has not been initiated yet by anybody in the city. We've got this collaborative agreement that paid for by the state to try and find solutions to the problem. And maybe you don't think we need any solutions.
You're asking us to initiate something.
Yeah,
What
so
is
let's,
this something?
so turn to page 14, you don't have
Yeah,
it.
I have it right
Let's
there.
just read them real quick, and I'll say I'm worried about that. So the first one, review and collaborate with other jurisdictions on regulations relating to the hazing of elk that are damaging property or endangering a person's safety. Well, collaborate with other jurisdictions.
Were you just gonna read them or are you going to discuss them?
Okay. Well, I just want you to know that's one, and it's pretty broad, right? I mean, how we do that, I'm not quite sure as a group. Maybe that's an ongoing thing. The next one, consider actions to right size the herd, such as passing city council resolutions supporting culling of elk. So that would start here, although it's not a land use thing. So, I mean, you could suggest to council, this would be really important to us, and you can make a recommendation to council on that. Consider whether to revise the fence code section to deter elk from entering properties. Right now, you cannot have a fence over 6 feet high, except on corners, and it can only be 2.5 feet high. So what kind of, we probably have to do a little research, what kind of height of the fence would deter the elk? I mean, how high can they jump or knock over a fence, and do we want to raise it for that reason? Okay, that's land use. We go into the zoning code where the fence section is, and it says you shall not have a fence higher than 6 feet. And we'll say, well, I think we maybe should up that and keep the elk out, to give more flexibility for people to protect their property, right? Okay, that's one. The next one, consider whether to revise the fence code to allow Gerhart to golf link.
There's your table.
There's that title, Gerhart golf links to participate in a double fence experiment. All right, well, that's definitely new, because we probably don't allow that right now. Apparently they've asked her. At any rate, this whole study found that was a pretty good solution.
I've read that other places too, that double fences are really keeps them out. Because it has to be a certain distance apart, because they won't jump into the middle, but it's too far to go.
Oh, perfect.
They have tried that multiple places and it does not.
My understanding is all the ideas for solutions here have been tried not very effectively. I don't mean these solutions, but all the solutions people have come up with for what to do about the elk.
Well, it looks like maybe Gerhart Golf Links has come to the city and said, Chad, can we double fence? And he probably said, no, our code doesn't allow that. So we can make an easy tweak and say yes, the golf course gets completely torn up by the elk. I don't know. And then we get into public hearings and decide, you know, how that's gonna go. Okay, so that's one too. Next one, collaborate on ecologically appropriate landscaping and other mechanisms for deterring elk in urban areas with classic plains. I see that as a broader thing that maybe the NCLC and Fish and Wildlife give us some ideas first. But, you know, if you like that one and you want me to start researching it and bring it to you, I will. The next one, support the county, educating residents and decision makers on the relationship between land use and wildlife. Okay, well, when and if we start any of these, we will be publishing information for the public. It'll be publicly posted, and we'll maybe have a work session sometime and invite residents to see what they think about raising the fence height or double fencing or other things. So that could start here. Partner with appropriate, now here's one that's possible. Partner with appropriate entities to study whether elk movement corridors can be utilized in Gearhart, particularly in parks and on state lands. Okay, now here's what this reminds me of. The elk are really busy up on the north of the urban growth boundary, you know, on the fire station property. There's lots of open land there. And I'm not sure where they travel back and forth, but there must be a natural corridor for them. And before we even started talking about the cottages and things, the thought was, geez, maybe we should leave this open, the elk, instead of for houses. That's a controversial topic. And maybe, you know, it's a little late because we've already gone pretty far into potentially overchanging our growth boundary, bringing that land in and subdividing it. So that could lead to the next one, review the subdivision ordinance to consider land use amendments, such as space requirements, wildlife buffers, and so on, that might alleviate pressure on elk. Now, to me, that's a tangible thing we could do. Go into the subdivision ordinance, we have to amend it anyway, and make a policy and some background on what the elk situation is, what they need, how wide, when there's going to be a corridor, how wide it should be, and require some research, and then make it part of their checklist of things they have to consider when they subdivide. That they, well, maybe you should move all the houses in a cluster over here instead of spacing them all out in half-acre pieces and putting fences all between them, and then leave a corridor in your design, which makes more means a more flexible review process in order to do that kind of subdivision. And then finally, collect more precise data on elk contact with residents and provide that information to Fish and Wildlife. And that's probably more of a staff thing. So, in summary, those are things that in this long process, Hero Heart has agreed to try and do to help the broader regional issue. And Chad's asked us to pick one, two, I don't care, pick a few that you like, and then we can hone it down or figure out, go take it from there. That makes sense to you? So
this is plan. We have these here. I know what I think, and I can say that they're. And I talked to Carol about this already. Personally, I would like to see the subdivision ordinance reviewed and see if there are things that can be done. Like Carol advises me that it's pretty tight at this point, and over on the east side of 101, it's kind of a hodgepodge, and that's why you do these lot divisions and all that kind of stuff. I would still like to see that. Up where you're talking about the urban growth boundary, expanding it to the north there, that is the natural path for the elk. They go it's kind of a corridor coming along the creek and going along Pinehurst, because all of that is open land, because that's the way Pinehurst built, and then moving on up to Surf Pines. If you go north, Surf Pines there, and that's about as far as this group goes, as far as I can tell. And then they come back down here, and then they go back. So
Is that where they go overnight, maybe if they're?
No,
they go home wherever they stop. Yes, sure.
I got a lot of information from Neil Main, and he's probably the area's foremost expert on this. He says that they have a route that they may veer from, depending on the season, a tiny little bit, but it's pretty much the same circuit that they do. And I think the place to start before we delve into, I agree with you, I would love to see us do something with the subdivision stuff. I think what he indicated is that nowhere in this report is there any data on what the elk are doing, where their movements are, what their precise route is, you know, what the timing is. He said it takes a week to 10 days for them to do the whole circuit generally. One of the elk in our herd has a collar on it. And that can be tracked. That elk can be tracked by the Fish and Wildlife people. So I would love to see us make decisions based on that tracking information before we're like, well, let's set this land aside, or let's try and do this, or let's try and do that. Let's look at what their route is. Instead of, you know, there's some places in here where they're talking about changing elk behavior, and it's like, they're gonna send them to school or something. I mean, how can I change elk behavior? You might be able to reroute them a little bit. Unfortunately, Bob Morey putting up that chain link fence, that school was right on their route all the time. That school was right on their route. And when he put that fence up, I was just like, and Neil said, well, they'll probably just go around a little bit. So Neil wasn't as concerned as I was. I was like, that's the route. That's where they, you know, they pass through there like on a regular basis. And now they can't do that. Some of them can jump that fence, but the babies can't jump that fence. So you're not going to get, you know, a lot of the moms aren't going to jump it either if the babies can't follow them.
I had asked for that information from Chad a week ago. I said, where is that? No, I asked for that because I can see the tracking color, because although we have not had elk visit us very much for quite a while, as soon as we got this packet, the elk seemed to all of a sudden start visiting the neighborhood again. And the one there with the collar. And so I says, what? We don't have any tracking information. Right.
So what are we supposed to base what we do on if we can't have a map of what they do, where they go, what their route is? And then we can start making subdivision decisions.
That's reasonable. This, you know, is a long report. We're trying to whittle it down to what we can actually accomplish here.
Well, and this also getting various churches on board with thinking about it. You know,
and talking to them and see what kind of data they have. Maybe they have more than we do, plus Fish and Wildlife.
Don, do you have something?
Yeah, I was going to say that I think the good news about the discussion is that you guys are kind of centering on bullets 7 and 8 and suggesting that we want to act on 7 and 8, but in order to do so, we need more data. So that's a decision in and of itself, is that 7 and 8 are the primary interests of the commission so far. And in order to do anything with 7 and 8, we need data to do so.
Which apparently there is the data out there, we just need to access it.
Right.
So it's there, and I think I'm glad you chatted with Neil Main, because he is the dude on that. And it's not necessarily our job to bring Neil in, but maybe Urban Solutions could have done that.
We can bring him in.
Okay, I mean that actually, especially if we do want to create these corridors, like let's say the cottages, for example, if we do bring that into the city, maybe there is justifiable reason to create a corridor and some space, open up some space, for the city. And so that would be done through a subdivision ordinance adjustment, right? So to me, that kind of seems like the planning commission's role in this thing. And maybe even the fence code.
Maybe something about fences would, like the double fence, I suppose we need to study it more, and we will if that's the directive, to give you more information about them and if they work and how high they are and what they look like,
Well,
all that stuff.
It sounds like the golf course wants to experiment with that.
Right, and now we don't, I suppose they could ask for a variance right now.
I can't speak for the golf course, but I'm pretty intimate with the knowledge and the way things work there. I don't think the golf course wants to do this.
I made that assumption because of the bullet.
I think they were asked to consider it because the golf course does take a huge brunt.
Yeah.
Of that, and so it's dangerous for golfers, it's extra maintenance and all that kind of stuff. So that's why they participated in this. But having the discussion of putting a fence along Cottage.
No, it's actually the northeast corner, and that's up.
Okay, so that's like
that's what's in. If you go to page 30,
okay,
they have what the golf course is being asked to do, which puts this fence right up against residential.
so they're
right against the reserve,
right
against the North Coast Land Conservancy land, and certainly that would really be a problem because the elk are going to be up there and they've got to move. I mean, right.
It's funny because when they are when they're trying to herd the elk off the golf course, that's where they push them to.
Yeah. Precisely, and that is, would you like to see my point here, number one? They talk about hazing, and both golf courses get out their carts, run them and shove them into the neighborhood so they stampede.
Yeah.
And Fish and Wildlife has said, sure, that's fine. Not exactly appreciate, but the hazing thing that's gone on is not good.
I do know the golf course does try to not run them, but lock them off the course.
Unless you have a teenager that's been given the cart and yeah.
Right, and I just know from Forest Superintendent that they just try to move them slowly, and I've actually been involved with that too. So, because the stampeding is bad for the golf course and it's just dangerous. I've seen them funneled down like 10th Street, and if there's a kid shooting baskets or something out there, that's
Hey Terry, you have something?
I just think I'm not educated enough to really test the problem. And I hear that there's data available, and I think we need to be educated. Could you have somebody come to the next meeting and kind of tell us in what? I know nothing about it.
That's what's the starting point. So
other than I don't want them in my house.
How about you, Russ?
Well, I agree that the data is the first step, and around the golf course, I play at the Astoria golf course. It's not the same herd, same conditions. And I don't think it screws the golf course up that much. There's days that you can see the hoof prints on the green. And as long as they don't run, which I think what Dawn suggested, that the greens guys try to just cozy them along. But well, the other part of that is if we try to fence, I think they have their natural routes, like Sharon's talking about. If we start blocking those routes, we're going to go somewhere. And without more knowledge, we might be creating a monster, not without even knowing what we're doing.
Well, we have to always keep in mind, what are we trying to accomplish? What's our purpose? And the purpose here talks about improving public safety, reducing property damage. It isn't necessarily getting rid of the elk, or it's just
one of the things
keeping them viable.
Well, and learning to live with them, I think that's what we all have to do. So how do we make that more pleasant?
I do not understand on this how we could encourage calling outside the city limits. That kind of threw me. Is that something that Earhart is? How does that work?
I don't know, and I don't think the planning commission would even want to do.
No, but I just wondered how you could. Well, you give
hunters permits to kill you.
But that's not us. No, it's not us. That's the whole point. That's not us. And Highlands Golf Course is not included in this, and yeah, the elk are there too, and so there's no reference to them. You know, and
I have to ask them.
I think that they need to be included. But what bothered me was all the list of people that were on this group. There was not a land developer. There was not just a resident, you know, people that had some personal experience. These were all professional people involved in the government or the, you know, the sciences or something. And
you know, we have had the help. We lived like 28 years on Thursday, and there was an old house across the street. We were the first house, and it was all baked in dirt. So they would come a lot over the years, and then as new houses get built, they less places to go. Same thing down at the, you know, the 12th Avenue or towards Gun Club Road. As they build
Right.
in those cul-de-sacs, pretty soon it shrinks up into places they can hang out. And
That's why you look for the corridor.
that's why the golf course is important, because, you know, I'm a golfer, I don't have it screwed up, but they need some open ground.
Right.
To go around.
So here's something that Neil said that was very interesting, and I did not know. He says that the mowing of the dunes that's done, you know, Palisades, I think.
Highlands does it.
He said that is conducive and helpful to the elk because it regenerates the new young growth that the elk like to eat. And I did not know that.
Nice to know. There's a good reason for mowing.
That was interesting.
Neil also told me the one time that they will only grow as much as they have food.
Of course.
But I thought, oh, well, you know, it's getting pretty big. Are they gonna have food? Obviously, they have not ran out of food. There are lots of babies this year.
So how do we move forward so we can make an educated discussion on this? Because now with all these things are flying around, I'm not able to take these things that are said and put it in a comprehensive plan. So how can we get ourselves to a position that we can actually discuss this other than just kind of throwing darts?
Well, this is the way it starts. You know, if we have a broad idea, just to answer his question. This is how it starts in planning. You find an issue that needs to be resolved, and it takes a while. You work through the steps for to get educated, probably more education.
What's the next step?
And I say more education on this list from Neil Main. Maybe we can get someone from Fish and Wildlife to join him to kind of back and forth. And you know, maybe some research on my part on other cities or what they do.
Yeah, if you had somebody here who could walk us through these, who were knowledgeable, and we could ask questions about it.
Yeah.
Say, is this really needed? I mean, how?
Like, what are the priorities?
Yeah.
And what of the things that can be done actually would have an effect?
Right.
Because things can be done, but they might not be very useful.
Right. I think that's the priority part.
Did you have something to say, John?
Not on this topic, no.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Well, I move that if we need to provide CAD with the response, the last item on this list of 9.
There you go.
Let's say we move to that. I move that we make that our proposal.
Okay. So Russ has made a motion.
Yeah. But that's different than the data that we need to make decisions on.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the contact between residents. Right, it is one set of data, we need that.
You're right.
But that's not the data I'm talking about.
Okay.
I back out, so we need a.
Erase that. That motion was never made.
He rescinded his motion.
Angelina, does the city still have like an elk contact with elk form on the website? I think the city had that when Matt Brown was the mayor, like collecting information on an incident, elk incident. No.
Motion, data.
I think sometimes the police would be contacted more often and would report.
There was, like, I think when they were maybe trying to work on this, I mean, I filled an incident out that I experienced. And so there is
Yeah.
some data, and that could have been from
Yeah.
4 years ago.
If Ian were around here, we could ask him.
But I think it went through the city's website.
Most of the time, what I saw on the website was that they asked the residents to contact the Fish and Wildlife people to put it on the report. So I don't, maybe they.
That's probably right. I think that's right.
So would the consensus be from the commission that we would like more information about the elk movement and more information about some of these proposals, all of these, or?
How about data as needed in order
Okay.
to have an intelligent discussion of these?
I would love to have one of the Fish and Wildlife person come.
Yes.
That person's name is.
That's Charlie website. There's a photo listed for ODFW
Right.
on the website.
I think Neil just talked to a guy named Charlie down there today to find out about the collar that's on the elk. Neil, I'd love to have him come, but he's not feeling very well, so I have to see.
So that's a consensus. We need more information. We don't have enough information to make any decision on.
Yeah, of course, this is an introduction to
Okay.
this whole notion.
So can we go ahead from there? Are we good then?
That's
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, we can't do anything now.
Okay, so we have the goals list in front of us, and this is underneath the goals list discussion. As I said prior, the rewrite and update subdivision ordinance is down there. An item 3, but with no priority as far as I can tell. I would like to see it at least reviewed and updated if possible. And I said that a week ago before I ever saw this report. So as more and more people are trying to subdivide things in our area, that yes.
Do we want to talk about fencing? Individual residential fencing?
I can give you some background on this. The fencing ordinance, and it was being discussed when I came on the planning commission 7 years ago. And the unfortunate part is it bounced back and forth between the planning commission and the city, or the city council is what I'm trying to say. And what it eventually came down to was this 6-foot fence, but it was difficult. It was a difficult process. And a lot of it had to do with people were putting up these really high fences, and then you couldn't see anything, there were safety issues, and people saying you're blocking my view and things like that. So it was just difficult. It probably took 4 months, 5 months.
It was.
There was some contention with it.
Just a lot of back and forth. And you know, it depends on whether you're putting in a solid fence or a wire fence and then there's been, as Carol addressed, these higher fences that are right like against the road. So you're in a street pulling onto 101, you're going like, I can't see. So there's been, some people have been to lower the fence, I've been told to lower the fence. But yeah.
And they still have to by code anyway.
Right.
Right up corner.
But there's ways around that, as you just said, with the wire fencing, where, you know, even more open lattice work, or, you know, some way to top a regular fence that makes it higher, but you can still see through it. Right?
Which could, so that the standard we have could be tinkered with to be a little more.
And I don't know.
Maybe.
But I feel like until we have the data, if we get a help guy in here, I mean, I've seen people have built you know, hog wire 6-foot fences out in the area that was undeveloped, we built. And they just walk up to that fence and jump it like, so maybe they can jump an 8-foot fence. I don't know, I've never seen them not make it. So I don't think we should set a standard without understanding what they're capable of.
And once we get into setting the kind of fence, then we get into design issues.
Right.
And, that may not be a place we want to go to.
No,
Because everyone has a different opinion about what's the appropriate design. And we have all the different opinions.
So where are
She's going to get more data for us, Terry.
Good.
And we'll bring either some experts for us or data so that we have something that we can make
that would be great.
an informed decision.
Not a motion necessarily, you're just saying.
No,
it
it's
doesn't
not
need a
motion.
motion. For deer and elk, the top of the fence should be no higher than 40 to 42 inches. But then it says a healthy animal can typically clear that height on level ground.
Double.
Maybe could not. Does electric fence work for elk?
They are illegal.
Yeah.
In your heart, you can't have a electrified fence. Yes, there's a safety issue, little kids, you know. Anything else on the goals list?
The one thing that we're working on, Sharon and I drafted a statement summarizing the vision of the comp plan.
Right.
Um,
I'm sorry.
Sharon did provide me some information, and I'll have that all like consolidated for some sharing next time.
Okay,
Okay, good to know.
awesome.
So make that a note of that, for the next meeting, we'll have a presentation by
Commissioner Cartman.
and Sharon Commissioner Hopper to present a draft comprehensive plan vision summary.
Yes.
Excellent.
Good, great.
Okay, anything else on the goals list?
Did you guys assign, do you guys want to assign updates with subdivision ordinance?
It has no priority at this point, and maybe we want to wait till we hear a little more about. I personally would like to see it up there as number 1, but we have the Oregon Solutions L plan use plan
And
and
fire
call
station.
station and fire station. And fire station is in the future.
And the vision of the plan, which is at the bottom. Those are the ones.
Well, but that's staff.
Well, I mean, it's us too,
Okay.
because it's two planning commissioners on the staff on that one.
We'll just leave it.
Yeah, leave it our desk, yeah.
But Carol knows.
I have a question.
Yes, sure.
So one of the categories that's put as number 2 is explore the ADU provisions. I'm wondering, would it be appropriate to also maybe put under that category something about all the trailers that are parked in people's driveways that people are living in?
Our city ordinance,
That's a municipal code. We have provisions for that. It's not in our zoning or subdivision ordinance. It's in the city municipal code. You know it by heart. Yeah.
It says basically you can you can have someone in the trailer for 96 hours, 2 times a year, and they have to have a permit for it. And if they go over, I mean, someone has to say something.
That's
Because-
right.
But here, let me tell you the conversation I had with Chief Bowman. He said, as it's written, he cannot do any enforcement with it. And he, way back then, I think when all this is under consideration, he wrote a letter to this, I believe, city council, said, these are the parameters I need in order to be able to enforce this. And they ignored him. So in other words, he asked, if it's got balancing, I don't know. You balance, you put the things
The
down.
little outriggers above.
Yeah, you balance
okay.
it all, and then the slides are out, and it's hooked up to, you know, water and electric clearly. He would need specific wording about all that stuff in order, so as it is, he cannot enforce any of this.
I hate to, defer to somebody else, but it's really a Chief Bowman City Council
Okay, so we wouldn't have any.
I don't think we need to.
We did the ordinance, yeah.
But,
I don't remember that part.
well, you have a good memory too, so.
Yeah,
Anyway,
there's an ordinance.
it's really not, well, it is land use, but it's really more city management, city council,
Okay.
and some authorization. And the police chief is somebody who's to enforce it, and that's the hardest part, so. I'm not really trying to pass it, but I don't think you want to take that on. Thank you.
I don't know.
I know Terry.
I'd like to take on dog barking, but I'm sure Terry doesn't want to take that one on either. Dog barking ordinance is not well written. Well, it's not. The dog has to bark continually for 21 minutes and the police have to be able to look at and record it in order for it to be a
I'm
nuisance.
so glad I put my barker into the bedroom, so you can't see the other dogs going by. I love a noise ordinance because of the landscapers make so much noise.
I know.
That needs to be regulating those blowers.
Oh my God, those.
Okay, we've digressed. We don't have any, are there anything else on the goals list? I'm sorry. Anything else? No. Visitors, we have no visitors. There are no visitors out there, Angelina. Okay, we have no public hearing. We have no unfinished business, no new business. Any concerns with the commission?
John, he might.
John, do you have any concerns?
Let me unmute here. No concerns. I do want to just take one moment, since this is a quorum, I don't have to worry about establishing a quorum with an email, to let the commission know something that Mayor Cockrum, former Mayor Cockrum, and Chad knew, but you may not all know. So I don't want you thinking that I'm perpetually going to be on Zoom. We are moving from Michigan to Oregon in the spring. And from now until spring, I'll be intermittent. But come spring, I should be able to attend all meetings in person.
Thank you.
And on September 28th, there will be a canvas forum at the Seaside City Hall for Seaside and Gerhardt applicants running for city councils. They'll start at 6:30. We'll go about an hour and a half because I'll be in charge. But it will give a chance for particularly people to see the Gerhardt candidates because all people running have never actually been elected to city council. The two that are serving there now have been both appointed. So
What's that date, 28th?
the 28th, Wednesday the 28th at 6:30. It will also be live streamed.
Okay.
So if you want to watch it on your
So the Seaside City Council.
city, yeah.
So we would look under city Seaside for the.
Yes, and I'll as I get more information, I'll pass it on to them here and they can put it out. But it will be live streamed, so you can sit at home and watch it.
Listen.
And listen, right. If there's nothing else,
Move to adjourn.
adjourned is 6:44, 43.
Thank you all.
Good night, everyone.
Night.